What's going on, guys? I know I posted a video yesterday, but I wanted to post another video. This one is actually not about football. This is actually about the sport I'm actually involved in, track and field. I wanted to bring up the fact that Americans do not see track and field as big as these other sports, and there's multiple reasons for that. I feel like, but I have a few reasons that I believe, and I think that us as professional athletes, we can change that. Um, Americans only notice track and field when Olympics is coming around. And that's one thing I really did realize. They only notice it every 4 years, 2020, 2016, obviously in 2012 and 2008, going backwards. And obviously moving forward. But I'm pretty sure a lot of Americans did not know that we have world champs, which is very similar to Olympics. It's just the track championships with other countries involved. We had that this year actually, and it's going on right now. They actually had their 100 final earlier today. The men's 100 final was earlier today, 2019, and then we have world champs every 2 years. World outdoor champs is every 2 years. So 2019, moving forward, 2021 and 2023, we will have World Outdoor Champs, which is very similar to Olympics. So for you guys that don't know that, now you know we do have those things going on. So it's not just every 4 years. But a lot of people don't take our track at they don't take our sport, professional sport, as serious as other sports. And I think one main reason why is the fact of the revenue that it brings in. The revenue that track and field brings in is very a lot much less than what baseball brings in and what football brings in and what basketball, these other sports. You have all these big names in the country, and obviously they have the historic background behind them, but they bring in a lot more money. And it's not just about the sport, but it's about the jersey sales, the shoe sales, football selling, baseball selling. They bring in a lot more money. A lot of these brands, the Nike, the Adidas, Reebok, Under Armour, they make a lot of money off these different sports. To whereas in track and field, we don't really bring in that much money compared to those. I think that's a huge reason why people don't see track and field as a huge sport compared to these other sports. Now their interest isn't there, but I believe that if there was more money involved, more attention in United States of America of the sport, then maybe we're talking about more revenue being received and getting more money for that. So I think that's one huge reason why they don't really pay attention to our sport that much. I mean, we work damn near as hard as any other athlete out there. As a matter of fact, I believe that our sport is more technical than any of the other sports. I mean, if you have one misstep in 100, you can lose a lot of time off that race alone, and that's just running. We also have javelin. We have field events that I could talk about as well. So, and it's clear that a lot of people don't really pay attention to it because Max Kellerman went up there and said some crazy stuff that didn't make any kind of sense. Sounds like somebody that really doesn't watch the sport too much. He said a few things that us professional track and field athletes know a lot more about, and we completely disagree with him about. So to me personally, I know that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people do not bring up or do not pay attention to track and field that much in America. Another reason I feel like that plays a part, and I think it's affected because of the revenue, is because of some of the athletes that we have that compete and using PEDs as well as what we know is performance enhancement drugs to compete at a better level. Um, Now with that, we have to do some. We do have a different thing going on called USADA, which is our database where they test us for these different drugs. We have a history. Our sport has a history of letting guys who do test positive for these PEDs and stuff like that to continue competing. I think that affects us in a negative way. That's just me personally. I think that us as athletes who know more about it, that's in the sport, we know how it works and what's going on, and we understand, okay, well, this person got banned for something that's not necessarily a PED. But for those who are outside of the sport that don't pay any mind to it, they will look at that as, okay, well, they tested for something to help them compete better or be better athletes. I feel like that's unfair. I feel like that's cheating. I feel like that's the biggest thing that's affecting us from this. Um, and honestly, in my opinion, it's not about the people that are failing the drug test. It's more so of the people that don't know about the sport. Like if you don't know about the sport, but you hear about somebody taking a PED, you're automatically going to be turned off because of that. You're not going to pay attention. You're going to feel like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay attention to this sport because obviously they're cheating their way to be better athletes. So that's how people on the outside would look at it. And I think that hurts us a lot more. So I think for us athletes, we have to be the ones that take responsibility and make sure we're clean, make sure we're doing the things that we need to stay clean in these situations. Also another thing I think is USADA, which is United States Anti-Doping Agency. I feel like they need to stick to their ground when they make these decisions as far as banning or not banning, or saying this athlete is clean, saying they're not, or what drugs that we can take, what drugs we can't take. I think that's very huge. When you make a ruling that is going for the athlete or helping the sport, it may affect the people that's not paying attention a lot more. Now you have people who don't pay attention to the sport and see that, oh, well, they just let somebody who can possibly be doping run, or somebody that has missed a test or passed a test or failed a test run. Now they feel like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to have interest in this sport because obviously there's cheating going all the way through the sport. I'm not going to invest my money. Now, yes, there is different sports, or a lot of sports where it's not, where people are taking these PEDs or these enhanced drugs. But the difference is, for baseball, for prime example, they have more money, more revenue coming in. So they're getting a lot more money regardless. If you ban some of their athletes, Ryan Braun or Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds and all this stuff, they're still getting billions of dollars. That's the biggest difference. Also with that, their agency who decides the punishment for these athletes, they're sticking to the rule that they had. They're not making up any excuses why this person can go back and compete or whatever the case may be. They are sticking to what they believe. So, and I feel like for us, for USADA, USADA, the United States Doping Agency, I think there's sometimes where they make a decision, then they go about making a decision that's not with the ruling that they've created in the beginning. So they say, okay, well, we're going to ban you for this, that, and the third. But once an athlete does that, they change their ruling. So I feel like that is a huge impact as well. I know for us athletes, or me personally, I understand the fact that there are rules that have to be followed. And the way I see it is, if you break those rules, okay, now we're not running at all, or we risk the chances of running. I feel like USADA needs to stick with that with every athlete, no matter how fast, how slow, how big, how tall, how important they are to the sport. Because once you make a ruling based on how important a person is or how less important, now people who don't pay attention to the sport, now they don't take us as serious as they would take all these other sports. Now the people that would mind investing in the sport would more likely not do it because we're not taking ourselves as serious as we should. So to us athletes, we feel like the sport is important. We work our ass off. You know what I'm saying? Us being athletes, that's a 24/7 job. It's the way you eat, it's the way you sleep, it's the way you train. It's a lot of stuff that goes in with that. So we try our best to make sure it's not just about Olympics. It's about every year. We have a Diamond League set up, which is where you can win a lot of money. You run against the best athletes. You compete against the best athletes at these meets, even different meets in different countries over in Europe and the Caribbean as well. But if America doesn't see it that way, then they would never take us as serious as they do these other sports. So those are the bigger things: the revenue that we put into this sport, and also how important our doping agency and the rules that we set regarding the sport, how we stick to the rules that we've made. Once we change up a rule, now people are not going to take us as serious as we should. That's just my opinion on it, and those are huge things in our sport. It shouldn't be just about Olympics. We have so much going on in these sports. We have amazing athletes that compete in different events every year. World champs every 2 years, Olympics every 2 years, world champs indoors every 2 years. There's a lot of things that's going on, but they're not going to take us serious unless we take ourselves serious throughout the whole process.